I have Miss Ria Chopra with us, Dr. Ria Chopra.
Thank you.
Very quick one. So you are into cancer
Biology, yes.
ठीक है. Any chances that cancers can be cured entirely in the coming future?
And that is what I've learned, that every time I felt like giving up, every time I felt that I will not be able to go through it, I eventually go through it. My cousin brothers, my sisters and all, they are holding masters and stuff like that. So really proud of them for that. Yeah.
Obviously, they're proud of you. They're following your footsteps. You're putting pressure on them. Every said, you cross one bridge, another bridge is gonna come. You cross one mountain, another mountain is gonna come.
Yeah.
This is the fun part of the life. Actually, this is the bumpy rides
Honestly.
are the fun part of life.
Right.
Trust me. Every morning you wake up with new challenges, and that is life.
So it just sometimes happens, things just come all together at one point and you question your entire decision of doing things, self and what you want from it as well. And once you put your mind to it, then you just have to stick with it. Like, you just have to go with it. It's as simple as that. Unless, obviously, if something is hurting you too much, if it's hurting your physical health, if it's hurting your mental health, which PhD does to a lot of people, I think it has changed me completely mentally.
That is so important.
Exactly.
That is so important.
It's not about the title at the end of the day. By the second year, I didn't care about the doctor title even. I just wanted to reach the end of the line at that point.
And most importantly, she's been there, she has done that, and now today she's sitting right in front of us as a top person. If she's alive,
Yeah, we'll
if
be
she's
fine.
sane, we'll be fine as well, right?
Don't think about that as well. Just think about being in a good headspace.
Right. So if you have a dad who's a lawyer, you will receive training every day.
Yeah.
Right. Anyone who's in the same field, like doctors, obviously.
Yeah, usually doctor parents
हाँ
end up
जी,
producing doctor children.
Doctor children's, right? Yeah.
Feel validated, and what I go through is
Uh-huh.
making them
Right.
feel
Oh,
validated.
yeah, that sometimes is very important. Huh?
Yeah, and that sometimes even a counselor cannot help you
Right. Oh,
understand.
yeah.
I see people doing it with a husband or a wife and with children, and honestly, hats off to them if they're struggling like that
Wow.
at a very crucial stage of their life.
If I see you in a Bentley, then I'll see dal mein kuch kala hai.
Then I'll be able to run.
Right.
Is a big deal, and that tells you the kind of mentality. Like, we're moving towards the thinking that we need to take care of our body. Let's do that in English.
Me, Ria Chopra,
Me, Ria Chopra,
take this oath.
take this oath. Yeah, no way I would never suggest anyone to go do a PhD.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Ordinary People, the Top People. Guys, today we are in talks with Dr. Ria Chopra. Dr. Chopra, she is a PhD in Cancer Biology. And in today's conversation, we will be going through about her journey on how she chose to become a PhD in this particular field. And what are the challenges these doctors, while they are on this journey, the challenges which they face and how to overcome those challenges, and most importantly, how you can balance your life, because this doctor, she dances as well. So in order to learn more about her journey, see you in the episode. Bye for now.
Ria is fine. Honestly, Ria is fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Fine. So, okay. Hello and welcome to yet another exciting episode of The Ordinary People, the Top People. Guys, आज हमारे पास हमारे साथ जो हैं उनके साथ बैठने के लिए ना एक हैसियत भी चाहिए मुझे लगता है. I'm just kidding actually. Guys, today I have Miss Ria Chopra with us, Dr. Ria Chopra.
Thank you.
Right. So Ria Chopra ji, how I got to know her is her Instagram handle. The handle of Instagram is PhD Who Dances.
Right.
All right. So all I got excited is how can you become a PhD and you yet have the time to dance and keep fit, right? So before we dwell down into that, could you please tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure.
And then we can just share more about that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Honestly, how do I even start about myself? It's more like I was born in India. I moved to Hong Kong when I was very, very young with my family, and from New Delhi actually. And when we moved to Hong Kong, the interesting thing, it was SARS going on at that time. So it was like 2004, 2005 that time. And we had no idea what SARS was. So moving from India, we had no idea what SARS was. We moved to Hong Kong, and suddenly we're in a new environment. We're in a new Chinese environment. It is nothing like India at all, and we were not used to small houses and everything. And so that is how I moved to Hong Kong, and that's how my story started in Hong Kong. But before that, my parents were also, having their own story going on in Hong Kong in a way. They had to fit in into Hong Kong's environment, the work environment, the living environment, raising their children in Hong Kong. So technically, I've been in Hong Kong for last, I would say, more than 20 years now. And it just feels like Hong Kong is home at this point. Obviously, India is where I was born, but Hong Kong is home at the core of it. And no matter where I go in the world, I would come back to Hong Kong. And this is where I have grown up. This is where I've done most of my schooling. I did my bachelor's in Hong Kong, then I did my PhD in Hong Kong. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, it's pretty much actually everything for most of the, like for
Yeah.
for some people out there. Okay, मैंने बस PhD कर लिया and that's it. Okay, now I want to know, while you were doing your PhD, all right, like how I mentioned before as well, what caught my attention is like, what, how people can keep sane and dance at the same time, have fun at the same time, keep fit at the same
Yeah.
time, and then PhD as well. Obviously, मेरे को तो पढ़ाई करने के टाइम पे मुझे मौत पड़ती थी, अभी भी पड़ती है, right?
Yeah, it's tough.
Right? See, it's tough, right?
It's tough.
But then, how did you manage? And were there any times and moments where you said, when you told yourself, I'm gonna give up and I'm just gonna do something else?
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree with that part because, see, I feel like dance came in my life much earlier than my studies came. And that's naturally because you're part of like an Indian Punjabi family. Dance was always there, right, for you. It's natural for you. But when I came to Hong Kong, it was more about studying, making myself as a student, as a citizen over here, and figuring things out as an Indian who's just moved to Hong Kong. Then eventually, slowly and gradually, I got into different hobbies and activities. Dance was one of those, obviously. I was taking part in national competitions in Hong Kong, part of like my school and everything, because I did go to a very good school, which is the St. Paul's Convent School in Causeway Bay. So over there, you have to be a whole student in a way that you are studying, you are doing your extracurriculars, you're doing dancing, swimming, and all of that stuff was part of your life. And that's, I think, where I found my foundation of like, okay, I want to dance, I'll dance on the weekends, take part in competitions, then study Monday to Friday. And that was a routine that I was in from a very young age. And I wouldn't say I was an amazing student. I wouldn't say that I think I was just an above average student, honestly. But that's because I had so much that I was interested in doing. And I just wanted to dance. I wanted to go for swimming classes as well. I wanted to take part in piano classes as well, while managing to, finish my studies properly in STEM. And I feel like that is where the balance came in from. So eventually, when I joined my bachelor's and PhD, it's natural for you to maintain that balance as well, because this is what you've been doing for 20 years, right? And that's why I felt like, okay, I can't let go of dance just because I'm doing a PhD now. Although I did feel like it went a little bit downhill from there, because you're so busy in your life at one point, you have to prioritize a few things. And I think that is when I feel like people my age, we kind of lose in touch with what we used to love. And we start prioritizing things that are giving us our career, that is earning us money in some way, and we forget the things that used to make us feel really, really happy without even earning money in the first place. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think about it.
Okay, but then during this, this time when obviously, the studies become more tougher and tougher in your masters, when you're doing, and if I'm not mistaken, you were in bio.
Yeah, I'm in biomedical sciences.
Biomedical science. इसके तो मुझे spelling भी भूल जाएंगे. इस title के मुझे spelling भूल जाएंगे, but
it's pretty simple, don't worry.
But then obviously, going into medical field, obviously I've seen some other people doing the same thing as well, but like I mentioned before, कि उनका ऐसा होता है कि they give up leisure. They give up leisure very at the particular age or stage where they're like, I'm going to be focusing on this particular thing, and I don't want to, because मुझे याद है there was a lady who used to play hockey with us. She wanted to become a physiotherapist. तो उसने hockey वगैरह छोड़ दिया, खाना पीना भी छोड़ दिया था. तो देन उसके बाद उसको थोड़ा सा मेंटल, आई मीन नॉट मेंटल इशू, पागल तो नहीं हो गई थी, बट देन
Yeah.
ऑब्वियसली यू नो गेट डिप्रेस्ड एंड एंशियस बिकॉज you're not feeding yourself, you're
Yeah.
not doing things which are making you happy,
Yeah.
and obviously that actually affected her studies as well.
Yeah, that will actually affect your mental state as well, because
Gee.
you're just too focused on something very
Yes.
specific that may not be making you happy.
True.
Right,
True.
but it's just the society makes you think that you have to do that specific thing. It could be your studies, it could be your job,
Right.
it could be taking care of your family and stuff like that. Yeah.
True, true, true.
So yeah.
But then how did you manage to, I mean, was there any point where you said, you know what, I'm just gonna give up? And then what was that one thing which just held you strong and say, you know what, I'm gonna do this thing?
Yeah.
Was it for someone else or was it for yourself? Or
Yeah, I feel like the most prominent moment that I felt when I think my life was kind of going downhill was actually in the middle of my PhD.
oh,
Because when you're in high school, when you're finishing your schooling, you're pretty much on a straight path, right? You have a routine. You get up, you go to school, you finish your studies, you do your exams, you have a summer break, and it repeats for about 12 years. And that is what I felt like it was going on in that way. My life was going in a straight direction. And soon after that, you're like, okay, what do I do now? I want to go in biology. Sure, I'll try to get into biology. Got into the bachelor's degree, and suddenly now your life doesn't have a routine, right? Now you have to figure out your routine.
okay.
So now maybe you have 5 classes a day, maybe you have 2 classes a day. What do you do with the rest of your time? And I started feeling that I'm not the only one going through this. People around me are going through the same thing. And some people would try to figure it out in a way that maybe they will have extracurricular activities outside of their bachelor's.
Right.
They'll start feeling, okay, maybe I want to pick up swimming, maybe I want to go do some charity work, something like that. And for me at that point was dancing was one of those things, and obviously other organizations that I joined back then, and obviously a little bit was towards biomedical research. So I felt like, okay, this is the direction I want to take for the future. And eventually when the PhD also begins, now you have to form a new routine. And at that point I felt like there was a dip because COVID happened at the same time. So when I started my PhD, it was 2020, COVID happened. The job market was pretty bad as well. So PhD was like a straight path for me. It was paying me
Okay,
well to study
right,
in Hong
okay.
Kong, and it's a 4-year thing. And you feel like, oh, this is my path now, not for the next 4 years. And eventually, things don't always go as you plan. My supervisor decided to leave the institution, and there was a sort of downhill in my career that way. So now I had to figure out things all over again in 2021. I had to find a new supervisor because he or she is going to mentor me to be able to achieve my PhD.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and that was a very big moment. And it just happened to be that my grandmother passed away at the same
Aye,
time.
sorry
So
about
it just sometimes happens, things just come all together at
Yes.
one point, and you question your entire decision of doing things. And then I was like, why am I even doing this anymore? Why am I doing a PhD in cancer biology? It's not going anywhere for me. It's my supervisor has left me. I don't have a project anymore at this point. I don't even know if I'll be able to finish my PhD in 4 years. Even if I finish my PhD, what are the chances I'll get a job? And that just mentally like messes you up in some way. So COVID had just surged again back in Hong Kong. And that was one of the lowest points I feel like in the last closest 5 to 10 years of my life, because randomly one day I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to give up. I went to my supervisor. I had found a new supervisor by then.
Right.
He was very supportive. He still is very supportive. And I went to him and I told him that I think I'm done with my PhD. It's been 1.5 or close to 2 years. Nothing is working out. There's no data for me as well. You need to collect scientific data and everything. It's not working out. COVID is making it worse. We're not able to come back to the laboratories to do experiments.
Oh,
Exactly.
wow.
We're stuck in our rooms. We're not able to come back to the laboratories. What do we do? He's like, are you sure you want to give up? And if you give up, what are you going to do next? And I was like, that's a good point. What am I going to do next? Even if I give up, the job market was not in a good position for
Right.
me to be able to get a job, right? And I just had a bachelor's with 2 years of random work experience that doesn't really add up to anything.
Right.
So I thought about that for a long, long time, and I took a few weeks. I was still coming back to work, and I took a few weeks, and I thought that, okay, you know what? I'll just keep going for a few more months and see what happens. Since I've already invested close to 2 years, a few more months wouldn't hurt me as much. And it just happened to have a breakthrough in that moment that I applied for a research grant, which was a very small amount of money, but it was good enough for me to keep going for another
Right,
one year
right.
plus. And that one day, I was super, super low. It was very rainy that day. I woke up that morning, and the first thing I do is check my emails
Okay.
because that's how it works once you're working. And the first thing I saw was your grant is approved. And I was like, okay, now I have to keep going. I cannot back out now.
Right.
So when I reached the lab, my supervisor was like, oh, you got it. So, now you can start your work. Now you have some money to do your work.
Right.
And that's the part of being a PhD student. It's just so many uphills and downhills and uphills and downhills. You never know when the next uphill is coming.
True, true, true.
And that is what I advise to other PhD students as well, like my friends and my colleagues around me who are junior to me as well. Yeah.
Right. So this is actually it's quite a bumpy ride now throughout the way, and it was in the middle of your PhD.
It was right in the middle, yeah.
So I mean, see, a lot of people they will say. I mean, I also have some people who will come back to me and say, you know what, COVID did this, COVID
Yeah.
did did that and all that. But I believe for some people, COVID actually worked on their favor, which
Yes.
I believe you in in your
Somehow, yeah.
case, right? And obviously, if you take it as a positive side, I mean, obviously, you can just look at it as a positive side angle and say, no, okay,
Yeah.
this is it. What are we gonna
What
gain
are we
out of
going to
it,
do
right?
next? Yeah.
So, but then, yeah, obviously, I mean, you had so many things at the back of your mind back in that
Exactly.
days.
Yeah.
And was there any pressure or was there any push from the family where it says, where they were supportive of you to carry on, or they were like, you know what, give up? ऐसा कुछ था family
Yeah,
का?
I feel like for me at that point, my parents have always been very supportive in that way, and they've never been pushy. That's the good thing. So I'm not saying that whatever I have achieved so far in terms of academia or my academic lifestyle is only on me. They have obviously supported me in every way. They made it possible for me to come to Hong Kong to have this
Right.
academic lifestyle. Otherwise, I might have been stuck in India. And I do see students being stuck in India, even with very good grades, even with very good backgrounds, but they're not able to leave India in some way. So I'm really supportive of that, all of that. But I think they've always been also supportive in a way that they were never pushy enough. If I don't have good grades, they're fine. They're fine with that because they know I'll catch up eventually.
Right.
And during that PhD time as well, they said, okay, you do what you believe is correct for you because you're old enough, as in like you're older than 23, 24 years old. You know what's right for your career at that point. You're not 16, 17 anymore, right? You're no longer a teenager. You have finished your bachelor's successfully. You have taken this PhD route for you and for yourself. And now at that point, I felt like, okay, my parents don't have such harsh expectations from me in any way. Even if I were to give up on my PhD, there was a chance I could graduate with just a master's.
Right. Right.
And exactly. So ultimately, it was like, okay, my parents are supportive of me. What do I do now?
Yes,
There's
exactly.
no pressure. There's no more. It's sometimes good to have a sort of pressure,
Yes.
like,
Yes,
oh, there are
yes.
so many expectations from me, and I cannot let people down.
Right.
But at that point, it was just me, myself.
Right.
Do I want to continue this? Do I want to become a PhD doctor eventually? How long am I ready to do this for? What if it takes more than 2 years?
Right.
Maybe it takes
Right.
3 years.
Right.
What am I going to do? So eventually, it all comes down to your individual, self and what you want from it as well. And once you put your mind to it, then you just have to stick with it. Like you just have to go with it. It's as simple as that. Unless obviously, if something is hurting you too much, if it's hurting your physical health, if it's hurting your mental health, which PhD does to a lot of people, I think it has changed me completely mentally what I was 4 or 5 years ago. And I've seen my colleagues, I've seen people around me struggle with PhD in a way that it puts them into depression, it puts them into an anxiety kind of behavior. And no one should be able to go through that. If it's hurting you too much, it's time to let go of it and move on with your life, 100%.
Right.
There's no point staying in a PhD environment like that.
So do they give you any support? Like, is there any support from the institutes?
In terms of mental health,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I feel like in Hong Kong it's pretty good that way.
it?
For
Okay.
students, yeah, it's pretty good.
Right.
We do have a wellness counseling service, for example, in
Right.
the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and
Right.
it's pretty good for students because it's very easy to reach out to them. You can just simply book an appointment. They'll book you in the earliest appointment possible,
Okay.
and it's free.
Wow.
And you can meet them once, twice, every 2 to 3 weeks, something like that. And at one point, I had to go for that as well.
Okay.
And there's no harm telling people that you were going for counseling because of how bad the situation can get for you
True,
in a
true,
very
true, true.
rigorous academic environment.
Right.
I never thought I would need counseling as a bachelor student, and I thought my bachelor's was tough. Then I came in PhD and I realized I do need counseling before I got crazy.
Right.
And by crazy in a way that you're no longer able to manage your emotions,
Right.
you're no longer able to find the time to eat, and you're just obsessed with the amount of work you're doing as a PhD. So that was the time I realized I think I need counseling.
Right.
I cannot go on without counseling at this point.
True. But
Yeah.
do you have anyone in your family who's also a PhD holder?
Mm, I don't think anyone
one,
closest
huh?
in my family has a
Right.
PhD. I do have a distant sort of cousin. She holds a PhD from India, and I think she's doing pretty well. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's the point. I believe like I'm actually feel like I'm the first one to be able to get a PhD. But now my cousin brothers, my sisters and all, they are holding masters and stuff like
Wow.
that. So really proud of them for that. Yeah.
Right. Obviously, they're proud of you. They're following your footsteps. You're putting pressure on them. कभी बोलते हैं ना,
No.
रिश्तेदार बोलते हैं कि देख ले उसने उसकी बेटी ने ये कर लिया, तुम्हें भी करना पड़ेगा.
I know, and I don't want them to feel that in any
Right.
way.
Obviously, it shouldn't be that way. Actually.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, no way I would never suggest anyone to go do a PhD, honestly. And
Yeah.
whoever comes to me to get advice on a PhD, I tell them, have you evaluated your, self reality in a way? Are you
Oh, that is so important.
exactly?
That is so important.
It's not about the title at the end of the day. By the second year, I didn't care about the doctor title even. I just wanted to reach the end of the line at that point. And
Right,
yet there was a
right,
long
right.
journey ahead of me.
Obviously, I mean, obviously, thank you. You didn't give up.
Yeah.
But the reason why I asked you is that because sometimes there are easier journeys when you have particular, like, same field people in the family.
Yeah.
Like if you have a father who's a lawyer,
Yeah.
then obviously it's going to help you because every day you will receive that training kind of a thing.
100%, yeah.
If you have a dad who's a lawyer, you will receive training every day.
Yeah.
Right. Anyone who's in the same field, like doctors, obviously.
Yeah. Usually doctor parents
हाँ
end up
जी,
producing doctor children.
Dr. Children's, right? Yeah. So PhD. So I
Yeah.
think maybe you were the one who probably needed the counseling. Maybe your cousins, they might
Yeah.
not in the future because then they're going to be like, you know what, if she's alive,
Yeah, we'll
if
be
she's
fine.
sane, we'll be fine as well, right? So, but yeah,
Yeah.
obviously I can see that. I have, I've been working with some of the children's as well from universities where, they are like, found it very tough. I provide life coaching sessions as
Yeah.
well. Obviously not counseling, but it's just that life coaching kind of stuff, which can actually help people to discover what they actually need. Not chasing the title, not
Yeah.
chasing the, oh, तेरी बहन ने ये, उसकी बेटे ने ये कर लिया, शर्मा जी के बेटे ने कर लिया, तुम्हें भी करना
Yeah,
पड़ेगा,
no,
that
I
kind of stuff,
completely agree.
right? So now my question to you is, so after PhD, is there anything next? But that is uske pehle, I just want to ask you, what do you think about the AI which is entering the market? Is it by any chance affecting your career, I mean your field as well, or do you think this field is safe?
Honestly, that's a very good question because I feel that in my field, for example, which is cancer biology, I do a lot of stuff that is very manual. So it needs a
Okay.
lot of manual effort. That is not to say that we don't use technology. We still use softwares that will help us analyze our data, right? But essentially speaking, we do a lot of manual work. So let's say we're working with cancer cells, cancer tumors, patients. All of that requires a lot of thinking, coming up with a hypothesis, and then generating a question. This is what I'm going to test in this scenario. Will it work? Will it not work? Let's see. And eventually, I do feel that with the help of AI, for example, AI has its different forms. Could it be, for example, as simple as using ChatGPT to help you, summarize your ideas, or actually help you generate new ideas, right? And eventually, you're going to evaluate whether those ideas are worth going after or not. So essentially speaking, for example, without ChatGPT, you're using your own brain. You are doing your literature analysis online. You're reading stuff on a daily basis and generating questions. Is this worth studying? Is this a good question? That is what a PhD is. That is what research is. But now with AI, it is supposed to help you in some way to be able to make you think more, to be able to make you think better, to be able to make you realize that maybe what you're thinking has already been done before. So it's no longer worth thinking about as well, right?
Okay, right.
Many of us come up with questions to think about every day and we think that, oh, it's unique, but actually someone somewhere in the world has done something about it. If you can think of it, someone must have also thought of it at some point. And I feel like in my field, it is right now it's helping a lot of researchers. So it's definitely helping a lot of researchers. And I shared about it on my page as well, that there are more and more softwares similar to ChatGPT, but they're more focused in the academic area.
Right.
And what they do is they help you summarize research papers. They help you generate, let's say you need a lot of citations and references. Whatever you're talking about in research, you're supposed to be able to reference it to old material, right?
Okay.
So if you're saying that this exists already, you're supposed to reference it. It's not an opinion, it's a fact. You are supposed to reference that fact to something somewhere written before.
Right.
It's supposed to help you in some way. But I do believe that in the coming few years, many essential work could be replaced by AI. And that's not to say just softwares, I would say machines as well. There's a lot of manual work that I do that can be replaced by machines. It's just that we're not in the position right now to afford that machine, for example.
Right.
Even if that machine exists somewhere out there, it might be used or it might be in use in many good, I would say, research areas in the US, UK, or Europe, where they can afford to have a certain machine to do things in much more faster way.
True.
And essentially a very small part of what I do is like pipetting stuff, right? That is what researchers do in a molecular biology environment. That could be done by machines very soon enough. And essentially it will all come down to whether universities can afford it, right? If they cannot afford the machine, it's going to be expensive. They will rather have cheap labor like us. It is
cheap labor?
Honestly, I would
consider cheap labor?
I talk about it on my page all the time, and I'm very clear about it that doing a PhD and taking this academic route, it's not about the money anymore, because you are doing what you're passionate about for very little money. So if you actually want to earn good money, you shouldn't be doing it as a PhD. You honestly take a business route. Professors are not there to earn money at all. Professors are there because they're passionate about what they're doing. They're passionate about cancer. They're passionate about neuroscience. They're passionate about psychology. They're not there for the money.
Wow.
And that's why you see a lot of professors, you see a lot of PhDs living a very simple lifestyle.
I thought they're just sant bande hain.
No, but that's pretty much part of it, because we're also not earning a lot of money. So it's more about whether how much you are,
passionate about
it. Exactly. And eventually, if AI can replace you, you should be rethinking if you're really that passionate about doing something like that.
No, this is definitely going to break a lot of people's heart there, saying that, you know what, becoming a PhD and all, but obviously I think you, like, coming up, which is my next question, maybe you want to pursue some other kind of like, obviously it's going to be complementing the same thing which you've studied, but then maybe become a professor. Professors also don't earn that much of money. So making doctors?
That's a very, I would say, controversial question. No, it's not controversial in a way. I would say that there is an academic route, right? The academic route, which is believed to be that you start with your bachelor's, you could go out in the industry in a way that you could be working with biotech companies.
Right.
You could maybe venture into big MNCs, working with those companies. You could enter the business sector, finance, economic sector, engineering sector in any way. And you could eventually climb up the ladder, right?
Right.
That is what is climbing up the corporate ladder in any way. Or you could go to the academic route. And the academic route is where you start your master's, you start your PhD.
Right.
Eventually, after your PhD, you want to stay in research. So you do your postdoctoral research area for the next 3 to 4 years minimum. It could go longer than that as well. I do know people who are doing their postdoc for a very, very long time. And that's essentially because eventually you're supposed to reach the professor level. And there are just not as many professor, jobs available in the market, right? And that's partially also because many of these professors, they get these jobs and they become tenured for a very long time.
Right.
And that means no one can get them out. So once you become a professor, very senior professor, you're probably, I would say, at least 40 plus, I would say,
Okay.
yes. It's very rare that very young professors lower than the age of 40 would be able to become that stable. And even if you can do that, you're pretty good in your field, I would say. So by the time they become a full professor for the next 20 years of their life, their career is settled, right? They're a full professor, no one can kick them out. They're getting a good salary from the university. And now they're supposed to continue this research for a very, very long time, hiring more PhD students. But I always talk about the reality of a PhD. I never want to sugarcoat it in any way.
Right.
And there's no point sugarcoating it as
Obviously,
well.
people are going to come after you after that.
Exactly. I mean, they would come after me and say that, oh my God, you told us it's going to be glorious. It's going to be so much more beautiful than this. I never said it's going to be beautiful. And I've shown people the actual struggles I go through on my page.
Right, yeah, I've seen that as well. I was like, how is she using it? How is she-
You are actually using your brain, right? You're actually coming with good ideas. You're actually generating more knowledge. That's the essential part of being in academia.
Right.
And that's why people think that what's the point of putting more money in research, right? But the good thing is that, for example, in Hong Kong environment, in Hong Kong and China environment, we have a lot of research funding coming from the government. So
Okay.
we're very lucky that way. And now we're seeing a downhill of this in the US. There's a lot of
Right.
research funding being cut down. That means a lot of good, hardworking people who have, spent most of their lives, they've dedicated their lives to research without ever asking for too much money. They have been passionate about this. Even they are now suffering. And it was never about money for them in the first place. They understood that at a very early age. They're not going to be earning millions of dollars out of it, yet they're dedicating their life to it. So their lives to it. So that is something we need to evaluate eventually, why someone would choose an academic research and academic pathway in the coming future. What after a PhD? And essentially, this is what I was going through at some point as well. Do I want to become a professor? Am I capable of becoming a professor? It's not about a want always. It's about, are you capable
Capable
enough?
or not? Yeah, true.
Exactly. And are there enough are there enough jobs available to become a professor? Not everyone can become a professor. There's a statistics about it as well, and I forgot how much the number, what it was, but essentially speaking, even if you have 10 PhD students graduating, maybe 1 out of the 10 will be able to become a professor.
Professor.
And I
okay.
think I am actually overestimating the number.
Oh.
So overestimating the number. But yeah, that's the point. Essentially speaking, many PhDs realize that their future may not lie in academia. And by the time they realize that, it's too late.
Too late. Yeah.
And now you are so specialized in a certain field. What do you do now, right? So I'm so specialized in cancer biology. Why would a business like a company want to hire me as a cancer biologist? I could be a very good analytical thinker. I could be good with some analysis of some data, but it makes no sense for a big company to hire me in any way just because I have a PhD. So essentially, that is something people need to realize before they start their PhD. Do they want to become a professor in the long term? That's one of the biggest reasons you would go through a PhD route. Otherwise, a master's is just good enough for you to enter the market, to do what you want to do, even if it is with a pharmaceutical company in the future. Yeah.
Wow. That's like, phew. Thank God.
That's unexpected, right?
That's really unexpected.
Yeah.
That's like, you know what, all this while when you were talking about all these professors and all those researchers, doctors, PhD holders, I'm like, you know what, you guys are the top people.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing without for so less money.
For so very little money, honestly.
And you dedicated your life when you went through the studies, and now you can see a goal which you reach, but it's not even a gold medal when you receive at the end. Maybe it's just a cup.
Yeah, honestly.
Okay, wow, that must have been so. Wow, I mean, people can go. It can now. Now I understand why people needs to go to counseling and all that, because maybe at
That's
the
one very big reason. Yeah.
sooner age.
Yeah.
Path when they enter this study,
Yeah.
they will be like, you know, oh my God, did I make a wrong decision
Yeah.
and all that.
Honestly, every other PhD student I know, as a colleague, as a friend, as Instagram friends that I've made throughout my page. I now have friends from Harvard. I have friends from very good universities in the US and Europe. And I'm not saying they're my best friends, they're my very good friends, but I've had conversations with them, right? And that conversation makes you think this random person is opening up to me
Right.
because we have gone through a similar trauma in two very different countries, in two very different universities, for example, right?
Right.
Randomly. And what they're going through is making me feel validated, and what I go through is
Uh-huh.
making them
Right.
feel validated.
Oh, yeah, that sometimes is very important. No?
Yeah, and that sometimes even a counselor cannot help you
Right. Oh,
understand.
yeah.
You need someone from your own background to make you feel
True,
that
true,
what you went through is valid,
True.
and it's not your overthinking.
Right.
It happened for a reason, and many people around the world go through that, and that's why by the time they're a little bit in the middle or later stages of their PhD, they start realizing what next. What do I do now? What do I want to do now? Do I want to start maybe a small startup company with a mediocre idea maybe?
Right.
Do I have a big idea, and how do I go around that idea now that I'm 28, right? So many people do their PhDs with a master's. I didn't have a master's, so I'm very young for a PhD.
Okay.
Many people, when they finish their PhD, they're already in their 30s. So by the time they're 30, do they want to risk doing something new all over again in a new field? And what if they're married? What if they have children by then? I am like fortunate enough that I don't have a marriage right now or have children. I can just be worried about myself.
Right.
And that already is a big thing
True,
to be able to
true.
figure out
Yeah.
what I want to do next. And I see people doing it with a husband or a wife and with children. And honestly, hats off to them if they're struggling like that
Wow.
at a very like crucial stage of their life. Yeah. So it's definitely not easy, honestly speaking.
Tell you. Salute to every one of you. Really, you guys are really. I mean, you're not doing for yourself. You're
Yeah.
doing for the passion, for the research, which is definitely benefiting people like ordinary people like us, right? But oh, okay, this was so such. This is so sad. This is so sad. But chalo,
But
abhi
it's a
hum-
reality.
Yeah, this is the
This is a
harsh
reality,
reality.
yes.
But again, I would really say take a bow, salute to you guys. You guys are doing it for such a. I mean, obviously, I don't know the money, but then
It's not good enough.
it's not good
never
enough.
good enough.
It's not good enough for you to buy probably a Bentley. But then
It will never be actually. Yeah.
be okay.
Yeah.
If I see you in a Bentley, then I'll see dal mein kuch kala hai.
Then I probably have some passive income from somewhere.
Oh yeah, the passive income gonna come to over now.
Yeah.
ठीक है, so your passive, which is okay. This is your work life, and
Yeah.
now the passive life,
Yeah.
which is the fun life,
Yeah.
fun part.
Yeah.
Okay, before I even go there, I just want to have this one really quick one. So you are into cancer biology.
Yes.
ठीक है? Any chances that cancers can be cured entirely in the coming future?
Wow. Okay. I don't think honestly that we can find an absolute cure to cancer because, just to put it out there, because there are multiple types of cancers out there. There are so many different types of cancers. There are solid cancers, there are blood cancers, right? And each one of them is super complex to deal with. I deal with prostate cancer, which is already very widespread around the world, right? And it's very similar to how breast cancer is very prominent in females, as similar to how prostate cancer is very prominent in males. And this research has been, in prostate cancer and breast cancer has been going on for the last 30 years.
Wow.
Almost 20, 30 years ago, they had already identified a very good target for it, a very good drug for it. And now that has been used for many, many years.
Right.
Even then, that cancer has the potential to come up to a fact that no longer none of these drugs would work anymore. I believe that cancer has its own sort of brain. It has its own sort of mind to it. Every cancer cell, every tumor has the potential to fight off any drug you're trying to feed to it as well.
Right.
It's almost as if it has its own brain. And that is what core scientists will always talk about with cancer. So they're always evolving, they're always going around trying to evade whatever drugs you're trying to feed them. But I think there's a lot of hope out there in a way that there are very good scientists, very good researchers working in Japan, very good researchers working in the US, obviously. That's where a lot of good cancer research is being done. But now, because of what we're seeing in the scenario, there will be a sort of downhill. A lot of these researchers are not getting enough funding, a lot of money. Even if they have good ideas, we're not going to see a good progression, right? So cancer research is going to be very much affected by it, not just in the US, globally as well, right? And that is essentially because when they come up with ideas, they publish those ideas. they come up with a new drug that can be able to target cancer. We find that out about in Hong Kong and China. We try to understand that science. If they're no longer publishing stuff, if they're no longer conducting good research, we're going to be eventually affected by it as well. We're a small society, we're a small country as well. So I do think there is good research happening out there. I think that will happen more with the amount of research funding that we're getting as well, how much the government wants to invest in it as well, and eventually finding the right targets for different cancers. But personally speaking, I think one of the ways we can cure cancer would be through a cancer vaccine, for example.
Okay.
So cancer vaccine is, I wouldn't say it's a new term, but for example, we have COVID vaccines, right? And essentially we have had vaccines for different viruses in the past. Polio we could be able to eradicate it, for example, in India, is because of a vaccine.
Okay.
And essentially speaking, that is why researchers are pushing forward to a cancer vaccine. So that may be one of the ways we would be able to, eradicate cancer in certain populations. Cancers that are avoidable, right? And that are based on our lifestyle, that is based on maybe our genetic background. That could be through cancer vaccines. But it's still a very long way ahead of it, honestly. There's still a lot to be done, and that will be done with good money.
Okay. So do you believe that by any chance there's like politics involved in this thing, saying that, they don't want researchers to do that well, where the medications won't be, because obviously this is money, right? People, hospitals or some other organizations, they make money out of this thing, right?
There's always this controversy or this theory that big pharmaceutical companies don't want you to be curing cancer, because otherwise how are they going to make money? And as a scientist, I don't want to go down that path to think about it, but again and again in the history of it, we have had big companies, I don't want to take their names, but what I've heard is that they could be involved in, let's say, producing. These companies are involved in a lot of different production of materials that are being used in our daily lives. But that shouldn't stop researchers from doing the good thing. That shouldn't stop you as a cancer biologist to finding even a little bit of, target that could be able to target this kind of cancer. It's still a good thing to do for the majority of the population. It still has benefits in the next 10 to 20 years of what is to come from cancer.
True.
Yeah.
Yes, please carry on. We need you. We need you. We need you. जैसे मेरी अभी lights हैं, अभी ये off होने वाली हैं, इसका मेरा budget खत्म हो गया इसका, but we will still continue. And but yeah, now okay, part 2 now.
Yes.
Part 2 is okay. So how do you? Okay, now you are. Do you believe that if you maintain a good lifestyle, if you dance, if you do activities, sports, and all these things, you go to the gym, a right way of doing the gym as well, that can help you prevent, not prevent, or maybe make the effect of cancer lesser?
That's honestly, I feel like there's so many people talking about stuff like this, and I feel like the science just gets lost in it.
Okay.
And it's so much coming out of India as well. There are self-proclaimed, people who believe they can cure cancer out of drinking honey water or lemon and stuff like that.
Honey water I've never
It's
heard.
very
I heard about
random
urine.
stuff. And that has been going on for quite some time, and it's honestly so much misinformation out there. It is. Honestly, I'm not saying that you cannot stop how your body is aging, right? You can obviously, you are in control of it to some extent.
Right.
You're in control of how you want your body to look like in the future, how it's supposed to look like, eventually when you're 50. It has a lot to do what you're doing right now to your body.
Okay.
And I didn't realize it at a very early age because I was kind of active in a way that I was dancing, I was doing a lot of cardio. I didn't have to go and lift weights because I had a lean body in itself, right? I didn't have the pressure that, I'm getting overweight.
Right.
But I was at one point, I would say anorexic to the point that my BMI was not good enough.
Okay.
And eventually, a lot of people who are into fitness, they also told me, don't worry about the BMI. Think about what you're feeling inside your body. Are you feeling healthy? Are you feeling energetic? That is what matters. So essentially speaking, I feel that now more and more young people of my age, they're starting to realize why it's important to go for jogging. why it's important to go run a marathon. And so many people of my age, they're now either running marathons, they're either taking part in like dragon boat racing, for
Right.
example.
Yes.
And we're so lucky to be living in Hong Kong that we have so much going on around us.
True.
Like dragon boat racing, it's super random if you think about it.
It's random, and I tell you, it requires a lot of energy also.
Exactly.
And it's time, it's practice, is like, see, again, it's a chain of activities, right? When you want to go for a dragon boat race, I think you have to prepare yourself, I think 2 or 3 months before,
Yes.
and then you have regular
Practices,
and
yeah.
trainings and all.
Early
And it's
morning practices, by the
early
way.
morning. I
Yeah.
tell you, it's tough.
It doesn't start
I
at
went
like
there
12 noon,
once.
it starts at 5 a.m.
Yes, 5 a.m. in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I went there once just as a cheerleader. As a cheerleader, I was tired already. I was looking at people, I was
Exactly.
like, how do you manage to do that? But it's really tough, right? So you
Mhm.
have that coming in on, and then obviously the marathon begins,
Yes.
you know.
There are
it's
regular
in
marathons now as
marathons
well.
now
Yeah.
as well, right? And then they have this Oxfam running, trail
Yeah,
runnings and all that.
exactly.
So I think we do
We have a lot going
yeah,
on.
a lot going on,
In
right?
Hong Kong, we're super lucky that way. We
Right.
have hiking trails, we have
Mm.
marathons, we have dragon boat racing, we have these high rocks trainings
Hanji,
and
yeah,
stuff
High
like
Rocks
that.
is also tough. Oh, I tell you.
Exactly, and there's so much going on. And honestly, I'm very happy for people my age to be going in that direction.
Oh, yes.
No one is telling you that you have to run a 10K and be the first in line, but the fact that you are training to be able to run
Right.
is a big deal. And that tells you the kind of mentality, like we're moving towards the thinking that we need to take care of our body. And this was not something that was present 20 years ago, for example. In our parents' generation, this was not something common.
Yes.
So I do believe that there are so many good effects of what we're doing and what we're putting inside our body. It's just that sometimes we have a little bit of a late realization of it. And I am not telling people to go out there, train themselves, 7 times a week. No one should be doing that. Even I myself, I feel like that I train maybe barely 3 times a week in the gym.
Okay.
And I tried lifting more weights than I tried doing cardio, because I want this kind of body, I want a more lean, muscular body. And I believe that, okay, maybe I'll lift some weights. And eventually I started feeling that it has positive effects on me. More than thinking about, curing cancer or avoiding cancer in the future, I felt that, okay, my hormonal balance is so much more better. As a female, I tell so many of my female friends, like, try doing some lift, like do some weightlifting in a sense that it makes you feel good about yourself. Don't put too much pressure on your body. Don't think about that, oh my God, I need to drink protein shakes every day. Don't think about that as well. Just think about being in a good headspace,
Right.
making you feel good. Essentially, it's going to give you a boost. It's going to make your immune system better. 100%, it's going to make your immune system better. And don't fall into these traps that, oh, I need to drink these booster shots, or I need to drink these kind of shots to avoid cancer. Think about living a healthy lifestyle overall, but also don't limit yourself to the point where you're torturing yourself.
Yeah, that's so true.
Exactly, that I won't
Yeah.
eat French fries at all.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying French fries are good, but once in a while, if you crave for something, you should not stop yourself from eating that as well. Otherwise, you're torturing yourself ultimately.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna give up.
Eventually, you're going to give up. You're going to be in a very bad mental space as well. That why am I doing this anymore? I'm not enjoying it anymore. So you should be able to enjoy your health. It's not about building, this much of muscle and continuously tracking your weight and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is so true. Unless you're going for a competition, that's your bread
Yes.
and butter. Then
That's a
obviously
different
you
thing.
should, you should be disciplined
Yes.
in such a way.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, a
Many
lot
of us are
people-
not doing in competitions and
Yeah.
yet not doing anything about our health.
My clients, my personal training, when I go for personal training clients, they will be like, oh, I want to become like that person. I want to become like that person, bodybuilder and all that. I say, that person, or what do you do? Oh, I'm a banker.
Yeah.
You are not going for a competition. This person is doing so many other stuff.
Yes.
He's injecting insulin in himself and all these things. Obviously,
Yeah.
those are not illegal, but that's how they have to break it down and have to sweat it out as well.
Yeah.
They have to do certain type of exercises in the gym as well to break that substance out. But what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to
Yeah.
the gym, and then after that, you're gonna sit down on the chair for the entire day. How this thing is gonna break
Eat
it
3
down?
meals a day,
Yeah, exactly.
carb-filled meals
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean these things coming out from you obviously weighs a lot, because the doctor is saying that. So make sure you listen to her. If you don't want to listen to your personal trainers, yes, listen to her at least. And but yeah, don't just copy people. I have been repeating this
Yeah.
thing because last time also I had this Miss Pooja ji in my fitness podcast last time, and then she said the same thing as well. You
Yeah.
need to know what you need to do, and obviously follow that. And don't come to a point where you're like, I'm just gonna give up. For whom I'm doing this,
Exactly.
because it's gonna affect your mental
Yeah.
like mental health. The
100%.
oxygen is less in your brain at that time because you're not eating enough of your carbs, and then you start overthinking or thinking something very negative because our brain is directed. I mean, default in such a way that
Yeah.
we think of negative things more than positive things.
Exactly.
Right?
And essentially speaking, I feel like social media has a very big role to play in this as well.
True.
Essentially at this point, for example, what we do, what we consume mentally, in terms of food as well, in terms of what we're watching, it has so much to do what comes from social media.
True.
Essentially also speaking in a way that when I want to train myself every day, or when I want to do a certain exercise and I'm on social media, it shows me very good looking people,
Yes,
trying to
yes,
prove
yes,
to
yes,
you
yes.
that you can do this and achieve these kind of abs, for example. It's not achievable in in a week or stuff. These people have been working on it for maybe last 7 years. To be able to post such a lean muscular body online, it's almost impossible to achieve that overnight. And to be able to realize that you're not going to look like this person because you are not this person, right? You don't know what is going on behind in their lives. You don't know how much they're limiting carbs in their body.
True.
You don't know what they have injected inside their body. And that is a very negative narrative that is put forward as well. So stop comparing yourself in that way, that I will be able to look like this person, if I go to the gym, if I get a gym membership. Most likely you're not going to be able to look like that person without a strict lifestyle.
True.
Without maybe injecting harmful stuff into your body. If you want to make it natural, if you want to feel happy, if you want to be feeling good in your body, and if that is your goal, you'll be able to figure it out eventually and slowly what makes you feel good as well. What kind of exercise works on your body.
True.
Right? And that is what is more important.
Yeah.
And I mean, slowly and slowly we all sort of lose shape of our body as well. I kind of had abs like 5-6 years ago, but that's because my fat content was very very low. And now because I'm close to 28, my fat content has changed in my body, and that's all that's your body's biology.
That is so true. That
Exactly.
is so true. I mean, I've seen people following these meal plans. One of my clients came to me and said, "Oh, I'm going to use this AI and I'm going to use this meal plan and all that." And I'm like, okay, this plan is not for you.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you going to do after a month? Are you going to use the same meal plan?
Yeah.
No, because that time you were having this much of body fat.
Yeah.
You had to have this much of calories because you were shredding. Now you probably have to maintain that, but you have to increase the amount of calories as well. So this is what the knowledge a personal trainer can give you.
Yeah.
This is what the hope, which is the right hope a personal trainer can give you. Is like, ye aise hota hai.
Yeah.
You can't just abuse yourself, your body, and say, I'm not going to do this thing. And I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, मैंने इतना साल 1 साल हो गया जलेबी नहीं खाया, मैंने ये नहीं खाया, मैंने वो नहीं खाया, but that doesn't work for a lot of people.
It doesn't mean you will get abs.
Exactly.
Just because you're cutting down sugar would not mean that you will get a very good body. You have to work for that body as well.
I have been training for 22
Yeah.
years. 22 years I've
Yeah.
been training. So now when I gain weight,
Yeah.
it takes me a week or two, I can get back into my shape. It's me.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was like, oh, tere ko itni jaldi hota hai, are you injecting something? I said, in my entire life, I've never injected anything.
Yeah.
All right. The only reason why I can get back to the shape is because of the 22 years of training. And it's not a small, short amount of time.
Yeah.
I have, I have broken down myself so many times mentally, physically as well, because I was doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
I've been there, I've done that, and I'm telling you now, you know what? It doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't. 100%.
Yeah, it's obviously if you're blessed with a body like you, for you it's easier, but for the people who will go to 40 or 50,
Yes.
then the metabolic system slows down as well.
Yes.
There's so many things which comes into picture. Your stress levels, your hormones up and down.
Yes.
It's going to take a lot of time. I mean,
Yes.
it's going to take discipline.
It does. It
Right?
does. 100%. It matters a lot what you're going through in life at that point as
Mm.
well. So, for example, in my bachelor's, I did have abs and I was working out. And that is essentially because maybe my cortisol levels were not that high as well. I was not really worried about a lot of things in life.
Right.
I was just living my life. I didn't have to worry about money, my career, or anything in such a way. But now I felt that I'm storing more fat in my body. That's essentially also because I'm getting closer to 30 years old as well. And as a female body, your body changes, through your hormones as well. And essentially, I realized that my cortisol levels are maybe now higher. And how I deal with my body, what I put inside my body, what I eat, has a much more stronger effect than before.
Right. Oh, that's so true.
That is very true. I could be eating McDonald's meals 5 years ago and it would not have any effect on my body. Whereas right now, even one simple McDonald's meal can give me, a face full of acne.
Right.
And
right.
that has a lot to do what is biologically going on inside your body. And many people tend to ignore that they believe that maybe gym and food is just enough. But it's a lot about your mental and
So
physical
true.
health as well, what you're going through at that time. Are you in a stressful environment?
Yes.
If you're in a stressful environment, what are the chances you'll be able to build up a good, healthy body, right?
Right.
So that's essentially a very big part of it. And I never want to give any, I would say, health advice or physical fitness advice to people because I myself, I don't think I'm a very big physical fitness, leading person in that way. I do what I can do for my body.
Right.
And I would never advise anyone, go do this exercise, it will be helpful for you.
That is so true.
It doesn't make sense for me to do that. But I can give advice to, let's say, my parents, because if I believe that they're gaining on too much weight, I'll be like, okay, come to the gym with me, we'll figure something out.
Right.
That is doable.
Right.
That is doable in so many ways.
True.
So in that way, I feel that people can still figure out a way for themselves depending on what they're aiming to achieve.
Right.
If you're aiming to lose a little bit of weight, you can figure that out. And otherwise, you need to really evaluate your ideas. Why are you trying to do this? For what are you trying to do it? Once you have the abs, what are you going to achieve with those abs?
Nothing is.
And are you going to be able to maintain those abs?
Yes. Maintenance is very important.
Exactly.
Oh, I tell
and
you.
abs are sort of made in the kitchen, not really in the gym. So are you going to be able to maintain those abs for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Because this is a lifelong thing.
True,
It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
It's not a hobby.
Yes.
Yes.
This is so true. Thank you so much for sharing that,
No worries.
Doctor. Now to the fun part. I need you, first of all, before even I go into your journey into dancing and all these competitions. Are you still doing it, by the way?
Actually,
the dancings and all?
I am, but not as much as I used to do. I did a lot of good shows in Hong Kong, like a lot of performances and everything.
Right.
And it was not as much about earning money, but just putting myself out there.
Okay.
And I've always been passionate about being in front of the camera, being on stage since I was very, very young. I never had a problem with that. Obviously, there's a nervous feeling that comes with it, but it's the thrill that I got of being on stage where people are watching me, and that I used to love it. I love that thrill. I love that feeling, oh my God, people are watching me do something that I love doing. And I looked good, and I dressed up well, and I love these dance moves. So yeah.
That's super cool. So now I need you to make, in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I want you to say something. You follow me.
Okay.
जो मैं बोलूँगा आप पीछे बोलोगे.
Okay.
ठीक है?
Okay.
You'll say, मैं डॉक्टर रिया चोपड़ा.
Do you want to do this in Hindi or English?
मैं तो हिंदी में बोलूँगा.
अच्छा.
I mean, चलो ठीक है हम इंग्लिश में कर लेते हैं.
Yeah,
okay?
let's do that in English.
Me, Ria Chopra,
Me, Ria Chopra,
take this oath
take this oath
on my PhD, license.
on my PhD degree. Yes.
Degree,
Yes.
degree. Sorry, that I will
I will
teach Dev how to dance.
teach them how to dance. See, this is a trap.
No, this is not a trap. वो कैमरे में recorded है. All right, I did it. Yes, ma'am. Deal.
Okay, fine.
Deal.
Cheers.
Yes. And one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
Free
Go
of
ahead.
charge.
Please don't get make me take a very big oath that I will not be able to live up to.
नहीं, सिर्फ मेरे लिए, ठीक है ना?
Okay, got it.
Now this is on the camera.
Got it,
Okay.
got it, got it.
Yes. Whew. अभी मैं ठीक. Now I can at least dance. Now. Good. Perfect. All I need, I know is bhangra.
That's pretty good enough.
But then some other forms
And
of
being a
thing.
Punjabi, it's
Yeah,
very hard to believe that you cannot dance.
Exactly, right? So being a Punjabi, I was injected Bhangra when I was born,
Yeah,
right? But
you're
then
born with it.
other forms of dances,
Yeah.
please. I've watched her videos. She's like, you know what? I'm like, but yeah, obviously, you're still young. You can, you were doing it with all the passion and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is coming to the last segment of the interview. I would like to thank you so much once again. To you and obviously to the other PhD doctors out there who are doing this for less money, but throughout their passion, they are helping so many people out there, giving us hope. So truly, you all are the top people. And ma'am, so now two questions. No, two things I need you to do. First, tell me what is your plan next, and the message for my viewers, please.
Oh, okay. That's a good thing. I mean, that's a good point. Okay, so what I want to do next in life is I enjoy teaching, for example.
Okay.
So I do enjoy teaching. I've taught a lot of students while growing up as well. I used to tutor a lot of kids as well. And essentially now that I'm at academia, I eventually want to become a lecturer, for example, as well. And that's essentially because I feel that I can learn about something, about a topic, and summarize it in a good way to explain to people in a more simplistic way. And that's essentially what a tutor should be doing and,
Right.
and a lecturer should be doing. So I would love to teach. I would probably go on to maybe become a lecturer, but that doesn't mean I stop being a scientist. So I will always be a scientist at heart. I will always keep questioning things. I will always keep reading, scientific papers and seeing what is true and what is not true. Science is, not an opinion. It's based on facts. A lot of what we see around us in terms of climate change, in terms of our biology, in terms of our body, it's all a fact, It's not our opinions. So that is what I love about science. It will always be true. No matter you believe it or not, it's always going to be there. And that is going to be a very integral part of me. And my message to, viewers, whoever is watching this, whether they are young people trying to go into, an academic career or people trying to understand what they want to do next in life, I think as a 28-year-old right now, I would say just don't be very afraid of what's going to come next, because I have gone through those emotions where I felt that, this is the end. There's nothing after this. But there's always something that comes up. There's always a way that I find to, get through that part. And that is what I've learned, that every time I felt like giving up, every time I felt that I will not be able to go through it, I eventually go through it. I eventually go through that bridge. I eventually go through that mountain. And eventually there will be a new mountain. There will be a new bridge to cross. And just don't be afraid that there's no path. There's always a way out of it. It's a matter of your choices. It's a matter of your priorities. And essentially, once you have your priorities straight, once you have, what you want to do, how you want to do it, things will be much more simpler. So just keep your, head straight. Just keep working on it. You'll figure it out. Unless it's hurting you, it's physically, mentally hurting you, please find a way out of it. But otherwise, it will work out.
Thank you so much, doctor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. But yeah, then again, one more thing from me. I'd say I strongly recommend you, suggest all of you that talk to your peers.
Yeah.
Like how you mentioned before
Yeah.
as well. If you're not having a doctor, you want to become a doctor, but you don't have a doctor in your family or
Yeah.
close relatives, the family might not be able to understand what you're going
to
through.
some extent, yeah.
Right, so you should go and talk to your peers, to your seniors like her. Obviously, you can, I will put her page down in
Anyone can message me at any time. Yeah.
So she'll be able to help you guys, and you can talk to her. She's, most importantly, she's been there, she has done that, and now today she's sitting right in front of us as a top person, right? So don't lose hope.
Right.
You all know that this, like she mentioned just now as well, beautifully said, you cross one bridge, another bridge is going to come. You cross one mountain, another mountain is going to come.
Yeah.
This is the fun part of the life, actually. This is the bumpy rides
Honestly.
are the fun part of life.
Right.
Trust me, every morning you wake up with new challenges, and that is life.
Exactly. There's no point living a very, very straightforward
Yeah.
life with no
It's very
challenges.
boring.
It's going to get very boring.
Yeah.
Essentially, that is what we want, but we deep down we know that we're not going to enjoy it as well.
True. Yeah. So moving forward,
Yes.
all the best to you.
Yes. All the
And
best.
once again, ma'am, take a bow.
Thank you.
And to all the doctors, researchers out there,
Yes.
salute to all of you. Thank you so much for
Thank you
making
so
us, for benefiting us from your research and all that.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It's pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
So sweet. Okay. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Oh yes, and one more thing, guys. Again, if you know anyone whose story is worth sharing, you think this person has inspired you, motivated you, or spread positivity, please do let me know, as I would love to have them on my show to use this platform to spread happiness and positivity. Cheers.